Shopify is getting into the NFT space. Now, this is huge news. Now, the reason it's huge news is because Shopify is an absolute giant. Now, its market cap is around $1.65 billion. It does thousands and thousands of transactions every day. Now, when I've spoken to people that have Shopify stores, the customer service for the sellers is very good. So if you have a problem as a seller, there is someone you can actually talk to, a real person. Now, what this means is because they've got a great customer service team, because they have the ability to do thousands and thousands of transactions, it means that they've got really solid servers and they've dealt with big influxes before. What this means is it means that if they move into the NFT space and do it right, it means that someone that is selling an NFT, the storefront isn't going to go down. They're not going to be the issues that we get currently with OpenSea. They'll be able to deal with huge volume of sort of buyers and huge volumes of sellers. Now, the other thing about Shopify that will translate very well to NFTs is that they don't allow counterfeit items and they're very strict on what you can and can't sell on Shopify. Now, what this means is it means that you're not going to get someone kind of taking punks, flipping them and calling them shop punks flipped, because you're taking the IP from Lava Labs and just trying to profit off them. So they're not going to allow that, and this is speculation. But the same thing when it comes down to apes. They're not going to have baby apes or shrunk apes or shop apes. So the idea that the projects that are kind of launched on there, they will be able to kind of actually process them and ensure that they are kind of either verified or they're not kind of breaking any rules. Because for someone new coming into the space, when they go onto OpenSea, a hyped project, there are so many fake accounts, there's so many scam accounts that are trying to get you to purchase those NFTs, and they're just taking down the sneak peeks, and then what they're doing is then putting that forward, people buy them, and then what this means is it means that they're leaving the NFT space scammed and not trusting it. So having a big corporation that has these processes and plans in place and actual customer service representatives, it means that I believe Shopify will be able to kind of overcome that hurdle and take it from the Wild West that can be OpenSea and kind of turn it into something that is a little bit more legitimate, something that is a little bit more sort of refined, which means that the customer buying experience can be easier. Now, the other thing about Shopify is they've got all of these relationships with the merchants, so Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, all these types of things, and the connections that they've made when it comes down to the payment portals. I can see this running out to a point where someone can see something on essentially the Shopify marketplace and use their credit card to actually buy that NFT. Now, this is huge and this is a big deal. I actually have spoken to friends that don't know how to kind of set up a MetaMask, how to kind of buy some crypto, send it to MetaMask, and then essentially mint on a website. It is very hard for them. And these are tech savvy people, because if you haven't done it before, it's very confusing. It doesn't seem like what a purchase should be. So if Shopify can overcome this hurdle and they can integrate it that way where someone can use sort of Web3, so they can use their MetaMask, they can kind of make the purchase that way, or someone can just punch in their credit card and then make that purchase, then that would be great. I also feel like with the way that Shopify want to kind of jump into this is they can take a large chunk of the OpenSea money that they're currently getting on transactions and ensure that projects are done correctly in a way that isn't necessarily using the OpenSea storefront address. I can see Shopify in the future using a way to create those smart contracts so each storefront has its own unique contract. Now, currently with OpenSea, the OpenSea storefront address is an ERC 1155 contract, not an ERC 721. So what I think Shopify may be able to do is start to actually kind of give each storefront their own contract, which will then kind of build a sense of community when it comes down to that contract being produced and being kind of held there, because I feel like that would also be another way to then kind of make it easy to kind of do airdrops and do things in the future, because they kind of separate it. Because currently with the OpenSea storefront, it's very chaotic when you're kind of buying an NFT, because you're not really buying it and there's no analytics that can then be run around it, because it's all under this one umbrella of the storefront. Now, the other aspect, and you may have heard me say this before, is Shopify will then give permission for other brands to actually launch in and do something, because currently to launch an NFT, it is a little bit hard, and big established brands will kind of have to partner with someone that can actually execute that backend. If Shopify can be that bridge and that connector when it comes down to it, so a mid-tier brand can actually release an NFT collection easily. There'll be that trust involved, and Shopify already has the eyeballs on it and people trust Shopify. So when it comes down to it, a brand can take some of their IP that they've already got, make digital items or make collectibles around that, integrate that into their store with Shopify, then have people trust it and buy it because Shopify is already kind of linked up to their accounts and people already trust it when they are buying off these storefronts. So overall, the Shopify news, it is a lot bigger than just a new brand getting into the NFT space. The fact that they are the aggregate, they are the connector of online shopping and people that want to sell products. Shopify was, I believe, the big wave and the big driving force of e-commerce when it came down to Sally in her garage making a beauty cream and then wanting to sell it online by setting up a Shopify store. They made it easy. They made it able for someone with little to no tech experience to actually set a storefront up and get it done right. They've got all their privacy policies in place. They've got all of their payment connectors in place. They've got everything in place. And if they take that model and they pump that into what NFTs are, it's going to be game over and it's going to be really good because it will give permission for brands to then jump in and do it, and people will then start to build that trust with it. So overall, I hope you found value in this video and my thought process when it comes down to Shopify and how this can actually be a game changer when it comes down to it. And if anything, just kick OpenSea up the butt to actually get their act together to ensure that it doesn't go down when you actually do want to be making those purchases. Overall, it's been a pleasure having you with me. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.